Good afternoon and welcome to a very special Dean's Circle edition of the Scope podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Nicole Wadsworth, Dean, New York Institute of Technology, College of Osteopathic Medicine. It's my honor to be on location at the NYIT D. Seversky Mansion with our very special guest, New York Institute of Technology Chair of the Board of Trustees, Mr. Peter Romano. Today, our conversation will include highlights and insights related to Mr. Romano's vast career experiences, philanthropic endeavors, and his strong dedication towards the success of NYIT and its students, as well as his vision and insights regarding leadership and strategic planning in education and medicine today. We will also explore Mr. Romano's perceptions on how business professionals and students can best prepare for success during this dynamic time of rapid technological innovation, advancement, and transformation. Thank you for joining me today. I'm truly honored to be with you at this historic mansion at the Long Island, New York, NYIT campus. Before we delve into our conversation, I'd like to provide our listeners with a few highlights from your remarkable career. Mr. Peter Romano is a proud alumnus of New York Institute of Technology, earning a degree in architecture in 1976. Following his graduation from NYIT, Mr. Romano has remained an active member of the New York tech community. He joined the NYIT Board of Trustees in 2011, served as vice chair for numerous years, and was named chair of the NYIT Board of Trustees in June 2021. A dedicated, compassionate humanitarian at heart, Mr. Romano and his wife, Jane, actively support numerous philanthropic causes, including Habitat for Humanity, a scholarship at New York Tech in support of students in the School of Architecture and Design, as well as many educational programs for children in need. Mr. Romano and his wife are also proud parents to 4 sons. He is the president and founder of Peter J. Romano and Company, a project development and management consulting firm that specializes in the development, management, and implementation of projects in the healthcare sector. With so many extraordinary areas to delve into today, I think a great place to start is at the beginning in your story. So can you tell us a little bit about your experiences as a New York Tech student?
To be honest, my dream at the time was to attend architectural school in California. And because my mom's family had lived out there and I spent many summers out there vacationing with them and everything. And so that was my goal. And then at the last minute, things changed. And so I scrambled, and like some of our peers on the board as well, and ended up coming here. And when I look back now, it was the best thing that never happened, going to California. This school has been incredibly fundamental in my life and has given my life and my family opportunities I never dreamed about. So I can't help but being a proud alum. I can't help but wanting to help, because this school is unique in that it looks at the individual, and the student is an individual, and it allows the student to grow in the direction it wants to grow, or he or she wants to grow. And the education here was not to learn, but to, in my opinion, was to ask the right questions. And because if you think you can have all the answers, you're just kidding yourself. The best thing to do is to surround yourself with the smartest people you can and ask the right questions, and they will give you the answers then that you need to begin to make decisions on. So that's my philosophy here. Like most alum, there was a break in my participating here at the school while my career was moving and starting ahead. And then I got a call one day from someone here at the school and said, "Why don't you come to an event?" And I came, and then I've been here ever since. It's just comfortable. I'm proud to be the chair. I never thought I'd be the chair, to be honest with you. But the school is full of just great people, great faculty, great staff. The students are wonderful. You can't not help but love it and want to make it better.
So some great advice you just shared, and you sort of preempted my next question, your motivation to stay involved and be on the board. So anything else to share about that continued motivation?
Well, It was an opportunity that was given to me. It was a gift that was given to me, right? I mean, it wasn't planned or anything, but it was a gift that was given to me. And I don't think the school's mission has changed very much since when I went there a few hours ago, graduated, to today. So it's a matter of making sure that we are looking at things properly from the management side of the school, to make sure that we are doing our fiduciary responsibility. I mean, I had 4 kids, sent them to college. I know what tuitions are like. I had tuition, I had school loans too. So, you know, this is not just this, people who think it's just this endless stream of students coming in and paying tuition. It's not that. You can't, you gotta be careful you don't send kids out into the world with hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt. It's just not the right thing to do. So how do we as an institution manage our costs, manage what we need to do, keep our tuition down, and yet provide the highest quality education we can? And that's the goal, that's the challenge. And everybody that I've worked with here at the school has that embedded in them. It's their DNA, as Dr. Foley would say. And so you don't have to explain it all the time. Every time we come to a challenge, everyone's approaching it with those ideas, those goals, those constraints.
That's really excellent. And I would have to say, I agree with you. Everybody comes at it with the same mindset and wants to solve the same problem.
Yeah.
And I think we're pretty successful. So as you reflect back as your time on the board, is there anything that stands out to you as a really notable accomplishment?
Well, I think management has changed over the years. And under Dr. Foley's leadership, there's been a level of transparency that is incredibly important. Not only from the trustees' side to be able to understand what's going on, to make decisions, properly informed decisions, but I would like to think from the administration side, the staff side, and the faculty side that they're getting the same information we're getting. So the good news comes and everybody gets to enjoy it. The bad news comes and everybody gets to enjoy that as well. So that's been an important factor that I think has changed. The other thing is, one of the things that I wanted to make sure I did as the chair is to have a very involved board. I've been on other boards, I've reported to other boards in my career, and sometimes, you know, trustees show up every quarter, they go to their meeting, they get to put on their letterhead that they're in their resume that they're sitting on the board of XYZ, and they're not really involved. And so I've been very active, working very hard to make sure that the trustees we have on our board are focused on the things that they like, that they're interested in, and that they contribute in that manner. And then at board meetings, and you've been at some of the board meetings, I welcome open dialogue. I want to hear people's opinions, their dissent, their agreements where we're going, because again, I don't have all the answers and I don't want to pretend I do. The other thing is people get paralyzed by decision making. You know, I don't get paralyzed by it. You make a decision, it's the wrong decision, make another one. Change your course. Doesn't mean because you said you're going this way, you have to go that way. If something happens, you get to veer off. You get to change. In my career, we build hospitals that take 7 years from the day the CEO of the hospital says, I would like to do this, to the day we give the CEO the keys to opening that building. And when I have a new client, I tell him or her, the vision you have today for your building is not what we're opening up the doors on. So just relax. Because there's going to be 7 years of changes, 7 years of things going on, the environment, the economy, the political scene, and it's going to affect everything that we do, but you'll end up with the product you'll be proud of at the end. And so that's how I look at approaching this. It's never final. It's always evolving, always changing, and sometimes it's hard. You got to be really flexible about it.
For sure. Flexibility is very beneficial.
Very
I
flexible
can imagine
about it.
In your profession, even more so.
Well, I look at the reason why I was chuckling is because, you know, I have 4 sons in their mid to late 30s. I have 2 daughter-in-laws. I have 4 grandkids. And I'm the old one in the room. And so, if I say something, they have no qualm telling me I need to get with the program, I need to change my attitude, I need to grow up, so to speak, or get more with it, to use their language. But so, this all just circulates in your head all the time. You don't forget it. And sometimes it's easy to deal with and sometimes it's not, but it's there. It's there all the time.
Well, speaking of your family, you and your wife have established a scholarship at New York Tech, and this is designed for students in the School of Architecture and Design.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit more about you and your wife's philanthropic mindset?
Jane's the one who's been very, very involved with Habitat for Humanity. Well, she's sort of stopped right now. And so her and my sister, some other friends of hers, and I think they'd go to El Salvador annually and build houses down there. So that's been her philanthropic drive. We have, one of our sons went to Africa with a good friend of his. He met the family. He has a sister who wanted to go to school, and so Jane and I paid for her education. As I said earlier, the school has given me incredible opportunities, and so part of what I want to do is to give back. And so you can do that with time, which I do. You can do it with money, which Jane and I do together. And so that's how we can do what we think needs to get done. That's why we do it. And it's the right thing to do.
Thank you for that. So I'm going to switch gears a little bit and talk about some of the growth and development at NYIT. So what are your thoughts about the brick building, our most recent success, I would say, and our growing area of research at NYIT?
The brick building is the first building we've built, first major project we built on this campus probably in 30, maybe 40 years. That doesn't mean that we haven't made investments to keep the programs going, but you can't just invest in the same thing all the time. You have to change, you have to do things differently. And given my background as a developer, so to speak, not that I develop personally, but I develop for hospitals and other medical facilities, talking about building a building is not scary for me. It tends to freak some people out, but it's not, it's just what we do every single day. So the brick represents, in my opinion, the first of a series of investments that the school needs to continue to make, not only in just research and in the medical school, but in architecture and business and all the other programs that we have here to keep it growing. And investment comes in a variety of different ways. It comes in bricks and mortar, which the brick is, a brick and mortar building. But it also comes in the investment of programs and then the support that you have to provide those programs, technical equipment, books, faculty. So change comes, investments in change come in different ways, but it's all driving to making it better each time. And if you get it right, and that's if you get it right, each step you build on the next one, right? So you set so Dr. Foley said R2 is the goal that we're shooting for. So brick is the first step to getting there. Well, sooner or later, you're going to start thinking about what it means to beat R1, Research 1, and what do we need to get there? And how do you support that with all the other programs around the university that then feed into that and allow all the students to enjoy that and participate in that whole process? So it's not just bricks and mortar that we build. We try to build the whole thing. Our revenue comes from 4 streams, if I get it right. There's tuition, there's borrowing, there's philanthropy, and then there's the operational bottom line profit, right? That's it. Well, we talked about tuition. So it's not a never-ending stream, and you just can't continue to jump on the backs of our students and their families and just load them up with debt. Borrowing, you borrow for capital projects, but you don't borrow for your operational expenses because that's ridiculous. Because if you can't pay for your operational expenses now, what makes you think you're going to pay to pay back the loan you do to run your business? So borrowing is only limited to, I want to build a building, I want to invest in this program, I want to do something like that. That leaves the bottom line profit, and that leaves philanthropy. So you have to balance all those 4 things and put all your projects in priority, and then figure out how much do you have to spend and where do you need to spend it. Again, where are you going, right? What do you want to achieve, and invest your money wisely to get there. So
That's great, and so it sort of makes me think about what do you see? Where do you see tech in 5-10 years?
I don't. What I see for tech is I want it to be the best university it can be and provide the best education it can. I looked at Dr. Foley and Dr. Ballantyne and yourself and the other deans to come to the board meetings, have discussions with us, tell us where you think we need to be going. And it's my job to marshal the trustees behind that vision and do what we need to do on our side to give you the resources that allow us to get there. That's my job. I'm not an educator. It's not my business. Mm-hmm. That's your business. I'm here to guide the board and to figure out how to get things done.
Well, speaking of your business, can you tell me a little bit about how that came into being when you decided to, what it was like to start it? And
well, so I started my career after graduating from tech. I worked my way through school doing two things. I ran a movie house. I was the manager of a movie house. And I was also a carpenter. Not a good one, but a carpenter. And so I graduated from tech. And back then, airlines were regulated. So I was closing the theater down at 11 o'clock at night. 10 o'clock, I called my cousin up in LA and I said, I'm gonna jump on a plane, meet me at LAX, and I'll hang out for the weekend and I'll go back home. So I did that. It cost me $200 to fly round trip to LA back then. And I got to California, and my uncle, who I love very much, he's passed away many years ago, but he was in the air conditioning business, a mechanical contractor. And so we got to chat, and he says, well, what are you doing? And I said, I don't know. I just graduated yesterday. What am I going to do? He says, why don't you stay and work for me? I said, Uncle Frank, you're a mechanical contractor. I'm theoretically trained as an architect. What do I know? And he said, don't worry, we'll take care of that. So I ended up spending a year in California. And to be honest with you, the first 6 months I couldn't wait to move there. And then when I actually did the transition, took care of the bank accounts and all those things, I spent the next 6 months wanting to get back to New York because I realized I don't have it. Well, I might have an LA attitude today. I didn't have one back then when I was much younger. So I came back to New York, and I went to work for a mechanical engineering firm, Koretsky and Associates. And Marvin Koretsky was a great guy at that time and a good mentor. And I said, Marvin, why are you hiring me? And he says, I'm tired of paying architects fees to design little things around what we do as mechanical engineers. I want to have an architect in-house, and you're it. I said, I don't know what I'm doing. He said, I'll take care of that. He said, we'll train you. So I worked for Marvin for 2 or 3 years, and Marvin's business was primarily healthcare. And so through Marvin, I met a lot of architects and worked on projects that were related to healthcare, building hospitals, stuff like that. So after a while, I said to Marvin, look, I got to go back to where I wanted to start from. And I went to work for one of the firms, Mason de Silva, who was a client of Marvin's. Marvin was designing the mechanical systems for a hospital they were designing. So I talked to Larry and Peter, they were the two principals, and they said, yeah, great, come on. So I went to work for them, and I worked for them about 10 years. And primarily, mostly, 99% of what we were doing was healthcare work. And one of the things I realized through working with some of our clients was the person who knew the least that was going to happen to them was the client. Hospitals don't typically rebuild themselves from the ground up on major scale projects. I mean, they might renovate an office here or something like that, but to rebuild a whole hospital was a big endeavor, and very few hospitals back in the late 70s, early 80s had that kind of experience. And so I was working on a project at Montefiore Medical Center, and they had a project manager who was an architect, trained as an architect, but Fritz basically guided the institution through the process. So what do you want? Can you afford it? How do we do it? let's do it. Let's figure out how to finish it out and then move into the building. And so one of the things that Fritz made us do at that time was he wanted the whole project team, architects, engineers, contractors, all on the job site there. He said he didn't want us wasting time on the subways, going back and forth trying to get information. What's the answer to this question? What's that? So we moved up to the hospital's complex up in the Bronx, and the hospital owned a residential building, and the whole project team fit in there except for me. And I was supposed to be the one leading it. So what happened out of that was I ended up sitting next to Fritz in his office, a block across the street, basically, almost. And there I began to see what it meant to manage a project from the owner's side. What does the owner have to worry about? I was managing the project from the architect side, making sure that we had enough designers, we were meeting our schedule, we were doing what we needed to do, get the drawings out on time. But sitting in Fritz's office, I began to see the management that's required at the owner's level. How do you manage the owner? The owner needs to be managed because I want to do this, I want to do that. They're like buckshot, right? And you only have so much money and you got to stay focused. So halfway through that project, I began to say, I love being an architect. It's a vocabulary that I speak, it's a language, but I'm not a designer. It's frustrating because when you design something and your boss comes back and has you change it all, I learned quickly I didn't want to do that. So I started managing, and I said to Larry and Peter, I said, I'm going to go out and start my own management firm, and thank you very much. And Larry said, okay. He said, but we're your first client, and we're going to hire you to finish our project. So 2 hours into business, I had a client already, knock on wood. And so we finished up the Montefiore project, and at that time, Fritz and I were sort of looking at each other saying, what are we doing? And we said, okay, let's just go into business together. We work well together, we do the same thing. We have he's political on process, and so we didn't tangle, we didn't get messed up in each other's business. And so we started a company, and about 2 or 3 hours later, we get 2 phone calls, one from the Department of Health to build a hospital in Harlem, North General Hospital. And then right after that, Fritz gets a call from New York Hospital, not New York Presbyterian at the time, to come and work on their project that eventually became the building that's built over the FDR Drive. So New York Hospital said to Fritz, we don't want to hire a consultant, we want to hire we want you as an employee. Fritz and I talked about it, and I said, I tell you what, you do that, right? And I'll start and finish up North General. We'll stay in touch and we'll see what happens. So we did that. We opened up North General's doors in 1990. And a couple of months right before that, Fritz called me up and said, so what are you doing? I said, I don't know, clock is ticking out here. I'm looking for work. And he says, well, why don't you come and talk to me? He said, we have this big project, we need your help, and maybe you could come and work for us. So I went to work interviewed with Fritz, interviewed with Dr. David Skinner, who was the president and CEO of the hospital at the time. I interviewed with the head of human resources, some of the members of the board, and they hired me as a consultant to help them manage that whole project. At that time, it was the largest project that the Department of Health ever looked at. It was over $1 billion back in 1990. Fritz and I began to work with them, and we came up with a whole bunch of processes and policies that they began to implement and follow. After about 1.5 years, the Department of Health got comfortable. We brought the project cost down, and they allowed us to build the project.
Please join us for part 2 of this inspiring Dean's Circle interview with Chair of the NYIT Board of Trustees, Mr. Peter Romano.